Do you see what Whoopi Goldberg said?
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg said,
This Turning Point conference, the were in the front of out there in front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs.
Every single person that attended that Turning Point, every Republican speak up against these, because against the flags that were waved.
You let them in.
President, open your
You let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit.
We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it.
Joe Rogan didn't just toss light shade. He detonated a verbal bomb with ruthless precision, slicing through the noise like only he can, while other media voices tiptoe politely around lawsuits. Rogan ripped straight into the circus of daytime TV like a blade shredding a puppet. And his chosen target was The View, America's loudest group chat disguised as a talk show. This wasn't playful sarcasm, it was peak Rogan, raw and unfiltered, powerful enough to make boardrooms sweat as his words turned cushioned couches into witness stands under blazing lights. Then the blast got bigger. Charlie Kirk, the conservative lightning rod despised by mainstream pundits, didn't waste time on weak tweets or bland press notes. He went nuclear, slamming The View with a lawsuit rumored at a staggering $100 million, a scorched earth finale built to torch the entire stage. Kirk wasn't just after points. He was carving his name into history with fire and fury. And as the legal gears roared to life, Rogan dove in, not as a lawyer, but as the ultimate commentator, ready to pour gasoline onto the blaze.
this is the most important part. This is right after she was saying, we are run by ABC News. You should trust us, not Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. So she by saying we should trust them because they're double checked by ABC News, and then making the stupidest statement.
So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
Regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo...
Joe Rogan wasn't acting like some political insider. He was the everyman's bullhorn, blasting so loud it felt like his words left a crater you could see from space. For years, The View has recycled the same tired formula. Hurl accusations like confetti, spin narratives tighter than a sealed Tupperware lid, whip up outrage, then play shocked when someone finally fights back. But Kirk didn't just push back. He came armed with lawyers on speed dial and a war chest big enough to bankroll chaos twice over. This wasn't a Twitter slap fight or a stern memo. It was courtroom Mortal Kombat in real time. And in a world where reputations vanish faster than TikToks, Kirk's counterstrike wasn't just legal, it was symbolic. His message was clear. If you play dirty, you'd better be ready to pay. And here's where it got delicious. The usual View routine of gasping dramatically, moralizing for 5 minutes, then cutting to commercials, collapsed under the weight of a $100 million lawsuit. Because no cute segment or Tide Pod joke can wash that away. While the co-hosts clutched pearls like they were auditioning for Downton Abbey and cried, misunderstanding, Rogan's reaction was pure savagery. He didn't shrug. He laughed in their faces, and watching him tear in was like seeing a grizzly dismantle a carnival lion. Zero subtlety, just raw dominance on live TV. For millions tired of media hypocrisy, this was the takedown they didn't even know they needed, because the dirty truth is buried under legacy media praise. The View isn't a talk show anymore, it's a staged group chat for coastal elites, where diversity of thought has died, and what they call conversation is nothing more than conformity in outrage cosplay. Stick to the script, and you're celebrated. Stray from it, and you're mocked, smeared, or drowned out. And when their mob gets it wrong, accountability vanishes. The moment Barbara Walters walked away, so did that word. That's why Rogan's response didn't just sting, it exploded, because he didn't merely roast the hosts, He dragged the entire circus into the spotlight, and this wasn't another petty spat. It was a cultural reset, with Kirk drawing first blood and Rogan aiming the mic straight at the wound, turning daytime drama into an all-out battlefield.
Well, it is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They get so much hate watching and hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean, it is a rabies-infested hen house.
And at the same time, it seemed like the most interesting part was their audience seemed to be on my side.
Yes. Yes.
And that's their audience.
Yes. Well, their audience is not really their audience. Their audience is a group of people they bring in to watch television shows.
They ripped open the wiring of American media, showing how clout now earns bigger paychecks than truth, and outrage pays better than honesty ever could. And The View found itself sinking in a PR swamp with no lifeline in sight. Because when you're staring down a $100 million lawsuit and the world's most watched podcaster decides to roast you, laughing it off is not on the menu. What made it worse was the chilling silence. No fiery rebuttals, no sharp counterpoints, just limp detours into fluff, while Rogan's words detonated across the internet, ricocheting from Twitter to TikTok, dissected, mimed, and locked into digital eternity. It wasn't just about what he said, it was about what they didn't, because for a show built on chaos and confrontation, their vow of silence was louder than any rant they'd ever staged, as if they suddenly realized some opponents don't just clap back, they show up armed for war. And here's the haunting question. When did daytime TV morph into a weaponized lounge for soft propaganda? It comes dressed in laughter and light chatter, but behind the curtain lies a script of loaded questions, packaged outrage, and an audience trained to clap like a laugh track. Kirk read that script, Rogan shredded it, and the rest of us woke up to the reality that our entertainment is activism in disguise, fueled by Nielsen ratings and advertiser-approved outrage. Now the script has flipped, and here's the danger. A $100 million claim isn't symbolic. It's a career ender before a judge even lifts the gavel. Win or lose, Kirk's case drags skeletons from closets, pulling out emails, tapes, whispers, and contradictions. Everything ABC executives pray will never see daylight. Discovery will be brutal, depositions will be bloodbaths, and every leak or redacted page will turn into content gold for Rogan, conservatives, and independent voices ready to pounce. This isn't just a lawsuit. It's open season on media hypocrisy, and The View wandered right into the crosshairs. And let's not kid ourselves. This storm is only beginning. What we've witnessed so far is just the opening tremor before the landslide.
The culture shift between right and left authoritarianism, and now people don't recognize that if you just stopped looking at it in terms of red and blue, look at the actions. Suppression of free speech, pharmacological interventions that are mandatory, whatever it is. That used to all be associated with the authoritative right, the authoritarian right. And now those things are being embraced by the left. And I just think it's just an ideology thing, and I think we get confused and we think we're on the right side. We're on the right side. And if it's our side that's saying this, for sure that's the right thing to do. And no one's critically thinking about this.
Joe Rogan is the gateway drug for young men that thought they were Democrats to become MAGA. Joe Rogan is the bridge. And on that bridge, they'll see RFK. They'll see Elon Musk.
Now, other media personalities, especially on the left, are perking up like cats at the sound of a can opener, realizing the days of hurling accusations like Mardi Gras beads and walking away untouched may finally be over. Say something false, defamatory, or malicious on national TV, and you'd better have receipts ready, because if you don't, the Rogans of the world are waiting with hot mics, massive audiences, and meme armies ready to blast every stumble to the farthest corners of the internet. So what happens when the unstoppable force of conservative legal firepower collides with the immovable smugness of daytime television? We're watching that collision unfold live as The View's trademark moral superiority finally faces its counterpunch, not just in the courtroom, but in the harsher court of public opinion. And unlike a scripted spat or a staged debate, this won't end with a commercial break and a dab of powder. This is a war of narratives, values, and the last scraps of trust left between legacy media and the people they pretend to represent. The View, America's most recognizable daytime show, now looks cornered like a diva, robbed of her spotlight, dodging not only Kirk's $100 million legal grenade, but also a media landscape that's shredding the old playbook before their eyes. They never thought they'd be on defense, because for years they built their empire on virtue signaling and selective outrage, propped up by loyal fans and a cozy media bubble. But that bubble just burst. They fired shots, and this time someone fired back with lawyers in sharp suits and a podcaster who doesn't care about Hollywood's sacred cows. The irony is delicious. The same hosts who sermonized endlessly about privilege are now being roasted for drowning in their own, having played referee in a rigged game, blowing whistles at opponents, then crying victim when the whistle turned on them. But smear people on live TV long enough, toss accusations for applause, and eventually someone calls foul. And that's exactly what Charlie Kirk just did. Love him or hate him, the move was ruthless, calculated, and undeniably brilliant.
The real fans of The View that are like, oh, these ladies are on point. Most of those people can't leave the house. I think the problem with that show has this very specific ideological bubble in which they operate in. You know, and they always bring on a token conservative woman and they yell over her and silence her.
So between ambushing Zelensky and this, why would world leaders continue to come to the White House?
Well, their audience is not really their audience. Their audience is a group of people they bring in to watch television shows. If you've ever seen audiences before for TV shows, a lot of them are paid because they have to guarantee that there's going to be people there. So there's services that you hire.
This is the problem with getting all your information from Laura Loomer and Elon Musk. This is what they're going to deal you.
It's a very strange show.
By filing that lawsuit, Charlie Kirk ripped the curtain off The View, exposing it not as a talk show, but as a narrative missile launcher dressed up with coffee mugs. And when Joe Rogan jumped into the blast zone, boom, instant detonation. Rogan didn't just critique the panel, he incinerated them, not with legal jargon or political filler, but with plain, sharp words that cut deeper than any courtroom blade. His superpower is simple talk that lands like a heavyweight punch, and this roast wasn't just funny, it was devastatingly accurate. He called out the fake outrage, the bargain bin intellectualism, and a panel acting less like commentators and more like a cafeteria clique with professional lighting. Audiences devoured it because millions are exhausted by mainstream media's endless double standards, and Rogan, for better or worse, has become their megaphone. No wonder The View is sweating. His audience doesn't just edge past their ratings, it steamrolls them, echoing in earbuds during commutes, blasting through gyms, and playing in kitchens at dinner, places The View can't dream of reaching. And when Rogan drops a takedown, it doesn't fade with the cycle. It tattoos itself onto culture, memed, repeated, and spread online like wildfire. Suddenly, The View isn't steering the narrative. They're trapped inside it, flailing with spin and excuses that flop harder than a bad SNL sketch. And hanging over all of it is that lawsuit. A $100 million claim isn't background noise. It's a career-killing meteor, even if inflated, because the optics alone are catastrophic. Picture depositions with high-priced hosts grilled over their words, their motives, and whether they even bothered to fact-check before tossing names into the outrage blender on live TV. Imagine the emails, the Slack threads, the off-air snark, all dragged under harsh courtroom lights. That's not cleanup, that's a reckoning. And as this legal earthquake rumbles, the media elite still pretend it's business as usual, grinning through the storm like nothing's burning, while everyone watching knows the fire is already out of control.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth.
I get it. I also hate Joy Behar. So I don't love you, but I also hate that squawking bird. So I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back.
CNN won't touch it. MSNBC brushes it off like a cheap street magician trick. And ABC, the proud parent of The View, is in full-blown panic mode, frantically throwing PR buckets at what's now a 5-alarm fire. But the internet never forgets, and neither does Joe Rogan, who has already shredded the hypocrisy, mocked the pearl-clutching, and made it brutally clear he has zero tolerance for moral theater performed from that couch. That's what stings most. Rogan doesn't just disagree with them, he disrespects them. And mockery that exposes how unserious you really are is a dagger no press release can dull. Here's the memo. The View refuses to read. The rules have changed. You don't get to dominate the mic and then play the victim when someone fires back harder. You don't get to cancel people without consequence and then cry injustice when the legal hammer swings. The game has shifted, the audience has shifted, and the new rules don't protect the old gatekeepers. They expose them. Because The View isn't just bad television, it's the living symbol of everything broken in legacy media. Smug, insulated, drunk on its own fumes, and completely unprepared for backlash from a public finally realizing the emperor isn't just naked. He's strutting around, bragging about it. Kirk's lawsuit might not survive the courtroom, but it has already won the only trial that matters: public opinion, branding The View as weak, exposed, and laughably hypocritical. And Rogan? He didn't just weigh in. He doused the stage in gasoline, tossed the match, and grinned as the whole set went up in flames. But here's the bigger picture. This isn't just about Kirk, Rogan, or a handful of overpaid talk show hosts. It's about the war over who controls America's narrative. For decades, daytime TV, corporate news, and Hollywood glitterati strutted like untouchable gods, saying anything, smearing anyone, and dodging every consequence. But now, the challengers aren't politicians or think tanks. They're independent voices with audiences bigger than cable networks, and fans who are done swallowing mainstream spin. And that's the nightmare The View can't escape. Not the lawsuit, not Rogan's roast, but the gut-punch reality that culture has sprinted ahead, leaving them gasping in the dust.
I get it. I also hate Joy Behar. So I don't love you, but I also hate that squawking bird. So I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back, is The View. You want to talk about that show. If the CIA is engineering, Antifa in the Capitol riot, some crazy misogynist engineered The View, because there's nothing worse than The View. In terms of, like, there are so many brilliant women out there. None of them are on The View. None of them have gone near the set of The View.
The View built its empire in an era with no counterweight, when their voices echoed unchecked, as though they were narrating the nation's conscience. But now the room is crowded with voices louder, sharper, and infinitely more persuasive. Instead of adapting, they've doubled down on sanctimony and censorship. A fatal mistake. Because every time they swing at someone like Rogan, they reveal how fragile their grip really is. And every time they paint Kirk as dangerous for lawyering up, they show just how terrified they are of accountability. Each time they laugh off criticism, they prove they still see themselves as untouchable, even as the floor beneath them starts to crack. So, what's next? Do they spin this disaster into some contrived teachable moment about disinformation? Do they cast themselves as victims in a drama they scripted, or do they sit silent while their lawyers scramble to tape over the fractures? It doesn't matter. It's already too late because the damage is done. Rogan's takedown has become internet legend. Kirk's lawsuit is now a rallying cry, and The View has lost something applause lines and ad revenue can't replace: credibility. Right now, they're not just licking wounds, they're pretending the knife was never there. No statements, no rebuttals, just that eerie daytime grin plastered over silence. But silence this loud is deafening, because when your brand is built on speaking truth, and suddenly you have nothing to say, when it's your turn in the hot seat and you go mute, that's a confession in neon lights. The same hosts who leap on every viral misstep are now hiding behind commercial breaks and bland PR filler, while the internet gleefully digs up receipts, clips, rants, and keeps asking the one question The View can't answer. If you're so confident you're right, why are you so scared to speak?
Did you watch the episode when Tulsi Gabbard got on to defend herself and Joy Behar starts panicking and going over her notes while Tulsi is refuting everything that she said?
Yeah, I mean, Joy Behar, like, again, these people have dementia. These are people who, like, should not be allowed out of the house. They have a national platform. I mean, it is crazy. They have no idea. These people have never read, like, a book.
And there's versions of it.
Rogan's words didn't tiptoe around their reputation. He blasted them as a pack of overpaid hypocrites cashing checks for televised chaos, and the internet erupted in laughter. What he delivered wasn't just mockery, it was a cultural slap across the face, a neon line in the sand that exposed how flimsy and disconnected these legacy platforms really are. When one man with a mic and blunt opinions can rattle a media empire older than dial-up, that's not roasting, it's revolution. The View was never built for defense, and now that they're cornered, they're unraveling live on camera. No shade of foundation, no canned laughter, no scripted segment is thick enough to cover the cracks. And this saga is far bigger than a single lawsuit. It's the symbol of a massive shift. For decades, mainstream media swung at public figures like they were punching bags in a morality gym. But the rules have changed. People are done. They don't trust networks. They don't trust talking heads, and they definitely don't trust smug panelists who preach endlessly, then run behind corporate lawyers the moment lawsuits appear. Charlie Kirk's case might be the first haymaker of this magnitude, but it won't be the last. He cracked the door wide open, and now more challengers are lining up, ready to storm straight through.